The Palworld devs have exceeded our expectations once again by dropping 2 big updates over the last 7 days that are now live on both Steam and Xbox. These updates include new features, balance changes, bug fixes, and much more, including the long-awaited ability to rename your pals on the Xbox version of the game. Today I'm going to quickly run through all of the details of these 2 updates for you and show you some examples of the new features in use on the Xbox version of the game. I've also got a great little workaround for Xbox players who can't access the Dune Shelter traders due to world loading issues, so make sure you check that out if you're having issues accessing that city up in the desert area. Update 0.1.5 was the first update to go out last week, and this brought with it the bulk of the content changes. First up, the major fixes: they implemented backup of saved data on the world selection screen. Now, this is an update that was for PC only, this particular part. You won't see anything different on the Xbox version of the game, but if you're playing on PC, then when you go into world selection, you'll actually be able to load earlier versions of your save. If you've had an issue with corrupted saves, something like that, then you'll be able to go back and load an earlier version of your world. Added fully supported keyboard key configuration. This now allows you to customize your controls pretty heavily if you're playing on the PC version of the game. It doesn't really give you these options if you're playing on controller, but if you're playing on PC on mouse and keyboard, then you'll be able to change a lot of different options and configure your buttons now. They've now also made it so you can remove members of your guild without them being logged in. Before, they had to be online for you to remove people. Now you can remove people when they are offline, which is obviously much more useful. Now, jumping into some of the stuff we actually have on Xbox as well that we can show you. They've added a new feature where you can use a long press of a button to continuously perform a task without having to keep it held down. Initially, I thought this meant for chopping trees and mining, but it means for carrying out tasks at workbenches essentially. You now have this option in your options here. If you go to game settings, you'll see hold to toggle interaction. If you have that set to on, and then you find a bit of work to do. So if we go up to this workbench and make some nails, for instance, and then if I just hold down X for a couple of seconds and let go, and then I can put my controller down and they'll just keep working without me pressing anything on this bench whatsoever, rather than me having to sit here and hold X to build this. You can do the same for building new items as well. So if we go and craft something like this that might take a bit of work, we'll put that down, hold down X on that, and then let go, and they're going to sit there and hammer away at this without me having to press any buttons. Another one of the big changes they have now made is that if you change your PAL to attack aggressively, they will do exactly that. If I do command attack aggressively, then my PAL here is just going to absolutely go ham and attack anything that it sees that you go near, whether you're aggroed on them or not. Previously, this just really seemed to work as in they would attack people that you're attacking or that attacked you, but now it is full-on aggressive. So if you don't want your pals to attack absolutely everything they get anywhere near, then make sure you take them off and put them on either focus on same enemy, where they will attack the targets that you attack, or they will retaliate if they've been attacked themselves, or just put don't attack and they will sit there and not do anything at all. Another nice thing that they have changed is to do with the condenser. So the condenser previously ignored PAL levels when you were condensing. So if you had a PAL you'd already condensed and got them up to level 1 or level 2, and then you used that PAL to condense into another PAL, you'd still only get 1 point for it. You wouldn't get extra points despite it having already been leveled up. So now how it works, if I go and find, say, Barry 2 here, this is a level 2 piggy, select them, that needs 32 essences to level them up. If I select one of these normals, it just fills up 1 slot at the bottom. But if I go and select Barry 2, who's level 4, that'll actually fill up all 32 slots of that PAL. There was an issue where this wasn't working for tier 3 and tier 4. You were getting less essence back than you're expecting. This has now been fixed, so you do get a 1-for-1 ratio of tier 3 and tier 4 PALs. Keep in mind though, it won't skip through tiers. So if I did this now and got 32 essence from using a level 4 to rank up a level 2, then it wouldn't take this one all the way up to max level. It would just level up Barry to 1 level, and I'd actually lose a bunch of essence essentially by wasting a tier 4 before doing that. So you can't just select a tier 1 like this and then go and select a tier 4 and bam, that tier 1 is suddenly tier 4. That will just waste a whole load of essence. What you'd have to do is level this guy up to level 3 and then you could use the tier 4 to take them up to tier 4. So you do still have to put in a bit of work, but it does give you lots of options to be able to condense down your powers. If your power box is getting really full up, you can condense a lot of them down to level 2 and then it's very easy to move that on to another PAL if you want to change traits or you want to level up a different PAL completely. If you want to know a bit more about the PAL condenser, I've got a full guide already up on YouTube, so I'll put a link to that in the top corner of the screen and in the video description down below. There's a bunch of fixes listed for helping out in PAL bases. We've got fixed an issue where PALs will get stuck on top of a logging site, etc. So various buildings they might get stuck on top of. Added measures to prevent the issue where PALs would wander around and get stuck at the border of the base area, which happens a lot. Fixed an issue where PALs at the base would get stuck repeatedly starting transportation tasks. Added measures to prevent the issue of base PALs getting stuck in the farm on a roof. Adjusted the default work priority of base PALs. Anubis will prioritize manual labor. What they mean by this is that PALs will always come and carry out work tasks when they need to be done. So if I go and craft something here, you should see someone pretty quickly come over and start making nails. There you go, someone straight over to make nails. If we make some flour, someone immediately comes over and starts doing some flour. And just generally, you should see your pals come over and perform these tasks as a priority over other actions. They've significantly relaxed building restrictions for stairs and triangular roofs, which is great because they were quite fiddly to try and build sometimes. These triangle pieces it'd be quite awkward to get into the actual positions you wanted if you're trying to build a nice roof, and you can now put them down pretty much wherever you want. Same with stairs, they're a bit more flexible and you can snap them to different points. Another big change is all environmental temperature changes are now added up. And this has a lot of different consequences. First off, it means if you put down a bunch of fireplaces, if we put 4 fireplaces next to each other, the heat from those is going to stack, which you could use to hatch eggs much more quickly. Previously, the heat effects in the game didn't stack. It would just take the highest heat effect that was nearby. So you wouldn't really see any difference from placing a bunch of different campfires. So you can see here, if you look down in the bottom left where we've got my little heat gauge, you can actually see my heat gauge is going really, really high and we're nearly actually up at max already. Previously, that wouldn't have been a thing. And not only does this affect fireplaces, but this happens all around the world as well. So if you go into a hot area and put down a fireplace, then you're going to get extra hot. And in fact, if you put down fireplaces and then have a fire pal near you, then they're going to push the heat up even more and you're going to get even more hot still. Same goes for cold pals. If you're in a cold area and then you get out a cold pal, it's actually going to drop your temperature. So you're going to find when you're in different hot and cold areas, getting different pals out, you may start suffering from hot and cold damage that you weren't before these updates went out. Obviously, you can still try and mitigate this by using heat resistance armor as well as heat resistant undershirts. You can get level 1 ones of these from traders and you can get high level ones from dungeons. If I take this off, there you go, I'll start to take heat damage immediately just from standing by these campfires and having that power. If I put the power away, the Ragnarhawk, then I'm just about okay. But if we get the Ragnarhawk out, then immediately I'm taking tons of heat damage and I'm basically on fire and going to die. Another nice new change is a new setting for the monitoring stand. It's not something I'd particularly used much of, but they've now added the relaxed setting to this, which is probably the most useful thing they've done on it. Before, you could change your PAL settings basically to hardworking or super hardworking. They would work more quickly, more efficiently, but their sanity and their hunger would drop more quickly. You can now set that down to a relaxed setting where they will work slower, but they will lose less sanity and hunger depletion. So it might be a good way to make sure your pals are all super happy for a little while if they're struggling. If you've got loads of resources, chuck it down on relaxed mode and let them recover a bit, and then you can always turn it back up. Or if they've just had a big hard session on hard or super hard, then you can let them relax for a little while and calm down. If you already had one of these down before the update went out, make sure you go and check the setting, as apparently it might be defaulting to relax if you already had one of these and then haven't gone to check it. Another nice change they've made is improving the efficiency of the Digtois's mining ability, partner ability. So if we throw one of these guys down, you're going to see that it's now doing 70, 80 damage. Haven't even pressed the drill crusher thing. It just does massive amounts of damage now, and it just smashes through these ore nodes pretty much straight away. We chuck them down on this one here, on the copper ore. Keep in mind this is with reduced health on the node, so they do break it a little bit more quickly anyway. But with this, they just absolutely steam through them, even if you have them on default settings. They've also fixed the abnormally high selling price of nails, they say. So if you're using nails to grind out gold, previously you might not be able to do that so efficiently now. They've significantly increased the number of police officers that will attend when a crime has been reported. I feel like they're already quite a lot anyway, but now there are absolutely loads, and you're going to struggle to get yourself out of there if you've been a little bit naughty. Also, just to quickly mention that you can now change your pals' names on the Xbox version of the game. You couldn't do this before. If you go into your pal box or anywhere that you can access pal details, we can select something like this Lamble. See down the bottom it says X to view details, bring up this page, and then if we just move up with the D-pad to edit, we can now rename the Lamble to whatever we want to call them. So nice little quality of life change there for the Xbox players, and hopefully we'll see some more Xbox things come along soon, like dedicated servers would be absolutely fantastic. The Sphere Launcher and the Scatter Sphere Launcher have now had their range increased, so they'll be a bit more useful. And they've also increased the sand value recovery from the advanced hot springs. Previously, they were bugged and they didn't really give you much of a sand boost over the basic ones, but this now works better and you should get much more sand back from using the advanced hot springs. On dedicated servers on PC, you can now view online players, as well as being able to now search by server name. Another in-game thing we can have a little look at is they've now added an option for brightness. If you go into graphics settings and go and find this, you can turn this up between 0 and 1 and turn up your in-game brightness if you're struggling with that. My eyes. On top of this, they go on to say they fixed many minor bugs, corrected some incorrect text, and improved measures against cheating. They do also mention for Xbox specifically that they're currently working on an issue where auto saves fail on the Xbox and Xbox Game Pass versions of the game. So that was update 1.5, and then update 1.5.1 came just a couple of days later and fixed some other little things. They said they fixed various game crashes, and one of the big issues that people wanted to see fixed a bug when breeding pals always had fixed passives. So what was happening was when you were breeding, your pals would always have a base passive that was common for that animal type, so you could never get rid of negative traits that a pal might have when you're breeding. That has now been fixed so you can breed as normal. There was also an issue, as we mentioned earlier, with the pal condenser where it wasn't working properly when you were condensing a level 2 or a level 3 or level 4 pal. You weren't getting the right amount. That is now fixed, so you will get the right amount. It's a 1-for-1 trade, but with the caveats we mentioned earlier, where you can't take a unleveled pal all the way to level 4 just by using one level 4. On top of that, there's just a few other bug fixes listed in that patch. We won't go through them in detail, but I'll put a link to all the patch notes down below if you want to have a look through and see if there's anything you need to know about down there. So just to quickly drop in a handy little bit of knowledge about the Dune Shelter area if you're playing on Xbox. So on the Xbox version of the game, a lot of the time when you go to Dune Shelter, which has a lot of really useful traders, whether you fast travel there or walk there, you'll find that it hasn't rendered in the ground properly and all of the traders have fallen through the floor and you'll actually fall through the floor yourself. But what you can do is if you fast travel there or go there and then stand kind of next to where it hasn't quite loaded in, or jump onto one of the rocks in that area and just wait for 20-30 seconds, eventually it will load in properly, but the traders and the other people will still be under the ground. So then all you need to do is fast travel away from the area and straight back again, and everything will still be loaded in properly. And now all of the NPCs, the traders and that, will all be in their proper positions above ground. So that's everything for today. I just wanted to give a bit of a roundup of all the updates over the last week or so for anyone who might have missed some of that new stuff that has come our way. It's really refreshing to see such frequent and good quality updates these days. There's so many games that seem to be released in a completely half-baked state and then take forever to get any good updates, or they just seem to get completely ignored by the devs once they've gone out the door. So hats off to Palworld for getting all of these updates out, and hopefully we're going to see this trend continue. Certainly be great to see Xbox get dedicated servers sooner rather than later. I don't know if they might wait until they get the 1.0 version of the game out before they do that, but it'd be really nice to be able to host a server and play with your Xbox friends or even crossplay without having to have someone online to host the save. So thanks so much for watching today. If you enjoyed the video, then why not check out one of my other Palworld videos and drop a like and subscribe to help us out and stay up to date with all the latest videos coming your way. Thanks so much for watching. My name's Ben. We are the Beard Guys, and I'll see you next time.